everybody, and welcome to another episode of HPCritical, podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I'm Jarrell, joined by Gabe.
Hello.
Brandon.
Hey, everyone.
And Kelly.
Hi, guys.
And today we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk all about gaming news once again, and then, of course, we're going to come back. And I said that we are going to have a special guest today. He's going to pop in a little bit later, hopefully, if he gets the chance. And then we're going to have a wonderful talk with my great friend. But until then, we're going to talk all about video games. So first things first, how are you guys? What have you been playing? Very quickly.
Oh, we're talking about what we've been playing? Yeah, no, games have been cool. Captain Toad, Breath of the Wild, trying to do that DLC. It's pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for me. It's been a slow game week.
I've played nothing for a few weeks now. I have kittens, so any waking moment that I'm not at work, I am spending with them. Even when I'm supposed to be at work, I'm still spending time with them, just watching them sleep. I don't care. It's more entertaining than any video game I've ever played. No regrets. But yeah, sorry, I haven't played any games.
I don't apologize. I ain't played shit either.
Yeah.
I've been playing Chivalry 2, Ocarina of Time, the 3D remake, and Smash Bros. That's actually about it.
That's still the same thing you always play.
No, because I've never once said I've played Chivalry 2.
I was talking about Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Jeez, and he starts to yell at me.
Look, because the last time I'm saying this like it was a while ago, but literally when I went on vacation, I didn't play Smash Bros for like a week and a half, and I got back and it was just horrible. So I never want to go through that again. So I'm trying to play very frequently.
Well, something that none of us have to go through anymore, segue, is actually, no, it didn't work out. I messed up the segue, whatever. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Pokemon Sword and Shield. I don't know if you guys remember, but a while ago, there was a leak for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which showed off a bunch of information, including the entire new Pokemon from the Pokedex, which I may or may not have seen. I didn't see it because I'm a good person. I didn't look.
I didn't look either.
But turns out that those leakers, which we knew they were going to be in some type of trouble, legal trouble, it turns out that those two Pokemon Sword and Shield leakers from 2019 will be forced to pay $150,000 each. This is from Nintendo News and updates on Twitter. So $150,000 each for spoiling Pokemon Sword and Shield. How do we feel about that?
Nintendo don't play. Those ninjas come and they strike hard, man. It's just like, for the leakers, it certainly wasn't worth it for that. They didn't want that smoke. They thought they wanted that smoke. They didn't want that smoke. And now they're just like, $150,000 seems like really steep, but like, that's a grim reminder of how much these companies will mess you up if you spoil their shit, especially Nintendo. So like, at the same time, like $150,000, like, but at the same time, it's like they're in the right to do that, man. Like,
do you think?
I really don't think it was worth it in the end.
I don't feel like it's that steep.
I suppose not. You got $1,500 later on.
$150,000? No, 15,000. How much did I say?
It's $150K.
$150,000? No, I don't have $150,000 laying around. But I feel like I don't, because I can only imagine being Nintendo, right? And this is the big thing. Their big marketing ploy for Sword and Shield was to not show off literally anything. Right?
Yeah, they didn't show
anything.
Even
get the final forms for the Pokemon. Like we always got them before. We got absolutely nothing because they wanted people to really enjoy playing through this game and having that sense of wonder and feeling like, oh shit, this is a new region. We know nothing about it. Like this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Dude, I remember the night that it came out and seeing freaking Squavit for the first time and not knowing this thing existed. And that was within minute 3 of playing. I was like, oh my god, look at this cute squirrel. Like that, like Squavit for context is like the Rattata of like the Sword and Shield. And they didn't even show that. So it was just that and like so many other Pokemon that just got a surprise for someone like me and you, Jarrell, who didn't look at the leaks.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really special experience for a lot of people.
I usually pick my Pokemon starters based on what they look like in the end because I'm not trying to walk around with no ugly ass Pokemon. But Sorry, my cat. I'm sorry, my cat just was. It was my cat. So I usually pick my Pokemon based on how cute they are. Anyone who's played Pokemon with me knows that. And so going into this, it was very much that sense of wonder of being a kid playing Pokemon for the first time and having no idea what this region was supposed to be about. And unfortunately, when you have leakers that are literally going against your entire marketing ploy, I think $150,000 is not that steep, because if the leak took on a life that it could have potentially, it could have ruined their entire game. Like, it's not just like oh shit, they leaked Pokemon. It's like our entire marketing ploy has been destroyed by two assholes who got the game early. And we don't know the ramifications it had. It could have had some ramifications. People could have seen it and decided this isn't something that they want. And that's, $60 that Nintendo didn't get from Pokemon. They already had people complaining about not having a national Pokedex and all these other complaints that came about before the game even came out. So leaking it could potentially do more damage than $150,000 per person, like $300,000 worth of damage. We don't know how much damage their leaks cause, so I don't think it's too steep. Also, if you get a game early and you sign a fucking NDA, don't fucking break it. It's that simple. I'm done. I like Pokemon, so I'm a hater. Gabe, you're on mute.
What? Oh no, I just didn't say what I said out loud.
Oh. Well, what did you say?
I said we can tell.
All right, before I move on, is there anything else that you guys would like to say on this? Was it too much, not enough, too steep?
I think it's too much. Like, I the points you made, I didn't think about, but they're very good points. But I don't know, like $150,000. That's expensive. Like,
it's just funny to me where Gabe will draw the line on things.
Right?
Like, he wanted to, you
life
wanted
in
to
prison
throw
for this
someone-
thing,
yeah,
but
exactly.
okay, no, hold on. I wanted to throw someone in prison for reenacting someone's death and showing it to the family. That's completely different than a leaked fucking video game, which, mind you,
but they
isn't
broke
even
a
that
legal
good.
contract. That's illegal.
I was trying to get
Not
something.
wait, actually, is that criminal? No, I guess it's only
No,
like,
a leak.
civil,
Leaking things, because everyone does that. So, but
Okay,
but no. Well, hold on, because I
Mhm.
don't want this to get into a big thing. Again, I'm saying I agree with you. The points you made were very clear. Me personally, though, as someone who I guess doesn't like Pokemon as much as you do, that doesn't really affect me as much. Now, if you put it like, I'm thinking about it, you put it in perspective. If someone goes and leaks the title of Breath of the Wild 2, which Nintendo has stated we don't want to say it yet because it's gonna tell you what the game is, then I'm pretty sure I'd be like, yeah, you know what? $150,000 isn't enough. Yeah. So I get where you're coming from, but me, again, it's Pokemon, so I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't.
That's the same thing. You're literally.
I know. That's what I said. I said
leaking Pokemon is it's the game. Like,
I know. That's what I'm saying. Right now, I feel like it's nothing, but I'm pretty sure if someone grabbed Breath of the Wild 2 and said, "Hey, the new title for Breath of the Wild is Return to the Sky," I'm like, well, what the fuck? And I'll be mad about it. But I
just feel like it all depends. Those are the last thing I want to say on this, but I do feel like it all depends, because like if I got a review code for a game and I signed an NDA saying I wasn't going to talk about it, and then I spoiled someone and talked about it, I'm sure they're going to come after my ass legally. So because I broke the fucking contract.
I don't. That they let other people play the game, or was it just leaks like? Word text leaks online.
I know that one of these leaks was specifically from a website that got the game early to get the review out of it. And they basically data mined, collected everything that they played in the game and posted it online. And not only that, they also posted the ending scene of the game online. And then that also caused people to talk shit about it.
You see, I didn't know they posted the ending scene. I feel like once you start posting footage, then, you're getting to that line.
But when you post Pokemon in a Pokemon game, like that's the game, that's the spoiler.
Yeah. No, it is.
But I mean, there's gonna be Pokemon in it. Like, again, I know,
but you don't know what
Pokemon is.
Yeah, the starter thing, I understand. Like, we didn't know what the starters were gonna look like in the end. I was gonna go off somewhere completely different there, but like, I feel like posting like actual the scene, like a scene itself, like images. We're gonna get images regardless. Like, people are gonna make up something, blah blah blah. But like the video itself, like if you post a video of the ending scene, I feel like then yeah, that's kind of like you're getting a little too like
Yeah, they posted a video, and then the video made the rounds, and it was just like, why does this game look so bad as a Pokemon game? And I think Brandon, do you know what I'm talking about? The very end when you're catching the legendaries is the portion that was shown, and they were it was like whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know anything about what was shown in the leaks at all. So I have no problem.
Because we're good people and we don't look for leaks.
There's a scene where you're catching Zamazenta or Zacian at the very end of the game. And depending on like which one you pick, they look kind of like there's a section where they turn the Pokemon's body turns without like the Pokemon moving. Do you know what I'm talking about? That was the section that was leaked. And so everyone was like, wow, this is the end of the game. It's going to look like trash. And of course, this is another reason that now you're fucking with somebody's money. So pay your $150 and learn your lesson. So speaking of paying money, Five Nights at Freddy's creator Scott Cawthon announced his retirement after a political donation backlash. So he's best known as the creator of the indie breakout Five Nights at Freddy's. Has anybody played it?
I've seen it, but I haven't played it. No.
To be honest, children play it a lot. Children are into Five Nights at Freddy's now, even though I thought it was supposed to be really scary, but like I've seen a lot of children playing it, so I'm like, no.
Well, okay, whether it's scary or not, he talks about reminiscing with fans who sent him letters and fan art over the years, and now he's had a wonderful time with it. But he apparently got caught donating to some places and people politically that not everyone agreed with. There is an article here at Game Informer that says Scott continues to post by talking about the passage of time and how creating games has transitioned from something he would do in his free time for fun and for his kids. Getting to the crux of the announcement, he said that all of this is to say that I am retiring. I've been shown tremendous love and support over this last week, a lot of which has come from the LGBTQ community. The kindness shown to me has been surreal. While he mentions the LGBT community, Scott has been strongly criticized recently for his contributions to politicians who have supported legislation or have views that many believe do not favor his marginalized group. A list of his donations in recent years made its rounds not too long ago. Some of the campaigns he supported include Devin Nunes, Ben Carson, Tulsi Gabbard, and former President of the United States, Donald Trump. Cawthorn's retirement post doesn't mention that these donations are connected to his retirement, but he's recently defended his actions in a lengthy Reddit post titled My Response and Maybe Late Post. And what he goes on to say is, even if there were candidates who had better things to say to the LGBT community directly and bigger promises to make, I believe that their stances on other issues would have ended up doing much greater harm to those communities than good. This is from his Reddit post. He also said, I've always been supportive of creators and have tried to treat everyone fairly and treat everyone with dignity and respect. I've never cared about anyone's race, religion, gender, or orientation. I just treat people as people, everyone the same, and because of that, I've ended with a very diverse group of people that I've worked with over the years. So that's pretty much the crux of it. Do you guys feel like someone should be held accountable for where they make donations if they're a game developer? Like, does that matter to you? Or should we all just not care where his money goes and play his game if we like it and don't play it if you don't want
to? I mean, I guess you wouldn't want to be giving that person money if they're going to be taking it and donating it to places that you don't want it to go. But I pretty much, I don't look into what, like, I don't know who makes what games I've played on Steam. I don't know their political affiliations. Like, I want to enjoy like the content that I like. And if I find this out, like now I probably maybe wouldn't support, but I don't go looking for it because sometimes I don't really want to know because I just want to enjoy things. Like, I just want to enjoy Chick-fil-A. Why do you have to be such bastards, damn it? You know, like sometimes I just want to enjoy things and I just don't want to know. But at the same time, I guess it's important and you probably should know where your money is going. And I don't know, it doesn't really matter to us because we haven't played the game, but maybe I wouldn't pick it up now if it was on Steam sale. I don't know.
There's a new one coming out. But I think we saw it.
There's always a new one coming out.
I think we saw it. We watched it together, no? At like
yeah, I think that sounds right. I think
when we saw the Smash announcement, I think they showed the trailer at the same time.
Well, it might have been a little bit like afterwards, but I think it was part of the game awards announcements. That sounds right.
Okay, I don't know. I don't remember.
Well,
maybe I just didn't care.
Money, so.
Well, bye.
Brandon, Gabe.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much. I don't have too much more to say besides what Kelly already said. It's not something I definitely go looking for. Like, if I like a game, I just play it, or if I want to watch a movie, like I don't. I unless it's something I really like, I don't really look too much at the behind the scenes. I just kind of do thing and enjoy it. And if it happens to come out and I'm not happy with it, then I have to take it on a case by case basis. Like for example, I'll give you a really good example. Rurouni Kenshin. It's one of my favorite manga series of all time, but I found out maybe a few years ago that the mangaka who wrote Rurouni Kenshin is actually a pedophile, and it was like getting pictures of like girls, little girls. And I was like, well, fuck me.
Funny.
And like I was like, so like I wasn't gonna throw away my entire Rurouni Kenshin collection because that series means a lot to me, but I certainly won't be supporting any future things that he may be doing in the future. I'm not gonna suddenly pretend like I hate Rurouni Kenshin. Like, I'm just not. Again, the series meant a lot to me. But like, it's like once you know that, like, how can I, burning or throwing out my collection is not going to take away the money that guy's already got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So like, it's you. Sometimes if you dig, is sometimes you'll find some really bad stuff. It's I guess the point I'm trying to make. And
I feel like that's probably like worst case scenario though.
That's the
like,
worst case scenario.
Like political donations, like, okay, all right, let's be honest, I'd deal with that. But pedophilia, like hard pass, like hard no on that. That's pretty much like the worst possible thing. So
that was just very unexpected.
So that's definitely the other extreme. This is what's going on here is definitely more of a middle thing, because it's like you may not agree with like the political opinions of the person that's like giving these donations, but at the end of the day, it's politics, and people are going to feel one way or the other about these things. And that's, if you don't agree, then of course you're not going to be inclined to give money, and if you do agree, you might pour more money. So that's what it is. Like it's not like pedophilia, I think we can all agree, is pretty fucking bad. This one, like, it's really just it's kind of a gray area in this instance. But again, I don't really care about Five Nights at Freddy's, so this hearing this is like oh well, damn, oh well.
Okay. I mean, in comparison, okay.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. But make sure you stay and listen to these sponsored episodes so we can get paid. Welcome back, everybody, to the same episode of HPCritical. We took a little break, and we are now joined by my wonderful friend Austin. Austin, you want to say hi to everybody? Awesome. So before we continue on with all the subjects that we're going to talk about, everybody needs to know how fucking awesome Austin is, and I'm going to let him tell you guys a little bit about himself.
I'll just say real quick before he talks, is like, I think it's awesome that he could join us all the way from freaking Planet Namek. That's dope.
That's literally just how fucking cool he is.
Yeah, I did a lot of the math, and it was wrong at first, but I got it right this time, so I'm like stoked. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, I'm Austin. I'm a producer in the video game industry. I started out as QA on games like BioShock Infinite and Infamous Second Sons. And for the past like 3 years, I've been doing production, working at places like Mojang on Minecraft Earth, Hardsuit Labs. Previously, they were working on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and now working at WB San Diego on something I can't talk about. But yeah, I've known Jarrell for like 4 years. We used to write articles on a different site together, and now I'm here.
And he's fucking awesome. If like you guys don't know, if you don't follow him, I'm gonna like plug all of his shit because you need to be following him. He's fucking amazing. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met, and like he's my big brother, and I fucking love him. And really quick,
blush into oblivion. I think I'm just gonna like evaporate.
So really quick, there's a very tiny story there about HPCritical's logo, which I'm not sure if Austin knows this. I think it does. I messaged him. Because he has these really fucking awesome tattoos on his arm. And I messaged him and I was like, Austin, send me a picture of your tattoos. And then he sent me the wrong arm, which it's fine because his other arm is still cool as fuck. So he sent me his arm. Yes, he sent me his arm. And for anyone who's listening, he has the Master Sword, he has the Keyblade, he has the Buster Sword, and he has the a lightsaber. And I was in the process of working with some people to design the HPCritical logo, and I totally stole Austin's arm, and that's why you have the Master Sword and the Keyblade and the Buster Sword in the HPCritical logo, because I stole it from Austin. And I told him I'm also going to steal his tattoo at some point. So that's how fucking cool he is. I'm stealing things from him.
It's like Rocket Raccoon. I totally need that guy's arm.
I was like, yo, this is like, I had an epiphany. I was like, Austin, send me your arm. This is like, 2 years ago. And he's so cool. He's just like, yeah, okay, no problem. And he just sent it like right there. And that's how fucking awesome he is. I love him so much. Thank you for being here.
I love you too. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to be a big boy. Anyway, so we were just talking about Austin, because right before this started, we were just talking about signing NDAs and breaking NDAs and games leaking, and you were having a conversation that I wanted to have on the podcast. So what are your general thoughts about when things like that happen?
Well, I think that NDAs are super useful. Yeah, like it's just an agreement that says, hey, we're working on this thing. Don't tell anybody about it because we have plans to do all these things, right? And so it's just a professional courtesy that I think makes a lot of sense as a baseline. But there's a lot of scenarios where companies will use them kind of like to chokehold their employees, ex-employees, anybody else who might have signed it. And that kind of stuff can be kind of rough, because you have people who work on games for years and years that never get released. And then because of NDAs, they can't show any of their work. You have people who are in really bad like office or studio environments, and if they tell anybody about it, they have like potential legal ramifications. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because leaks suck. Nobody wants leaks, especially when you've been working on something for a long time. But yeah, I feel like they have to be used like responsibly.
And I think that's a very fair point. I completely agree with you. And how do you feel about game leaks in general? We were talking specifically about the Pokemon Sword and Shield leaks that came out, and how then they're charging the leakers $150,000 each. Do you think that's too much? I don't know. Like, how do you feel about that?
That's a really good question. I have respect for people who are like technologically savvy enough to like break through like corporate level structures to like pull stuff or figure it out. Like it's like, that's kind of cool, like the hacker vibe a little bit. But if it's just people who are disgruntled employees passing stuff along, or if it was like other stuff that blows. Like, I think about it like this: have you ever tried to plan a surprise party or wanted a surprise party to happen, or something along those lines, and you found out about it, or somebody else who you're planning it for finds out about it? Like, it just deflates everything, right? Like you're like trying to build all this anticipation and tension, and you're really excited about this thing you're building, but then somebody goes and just kind of lets all the air out of it, and that can be really that's kind of heavy. It kind of hurts.
Exactly. That's why I said, I don't think they'll agree with me, but I did say that $150,000 per person. I felt like that was enough. And I not because I do think it's a lot of money, but I was saying that, Pokemon's entire marketing scheme at the time was to not share anything. It was to make sure that everyone went in blind and they had a really great time, and they captured that nostalgia of first playing Pokemon for the first time and not knowing any of the Pokemon, etc. And then everything was leaked. And I feel like if that's your entire strategy and it gets leaked online, and scenes are showed from the end of the game and people use that against you, I feel like I would probably go for more, honestly. Like, fuck you for ruining this for not only me, but for everyone else, and what could have been, for those people that unfortunately, because leaks end up everywhere, right? They're all over the internet. I didn't finish the intermission remake DLC with Yuffie, and like day one I accidentally saw a spoiler on Twitter, and I was like, oh fuck, now I have to like go play this fucking game before it gets destroyed for me. And that's like in the small scale. I can only imagine like leaking an entire video game's roster. And anyway, I'm over that. I'm gonna move on now. So the next thing that I was gonna talk about was Back 4 Blood. It does not have an offline mode, even for solo play. How do you guys feel about games that don't have offline modes, even for solo play?
I hate that shit so much. As soon as you said that, a game popped in my head. I can't remember the name of the game, but like I don't get it. Like, it's offline. Like if it was something like for example, like a Godfall game where the loot is always randomized. Yeah, I get that. But looking at Back for Blood, you're just fighting zombie hordes. Like you're telling me there couldn't have been an offline mode for that? I don't know. It's just it's one of those like little things that like really gets me like really upset.
Did Left 4 Dead have an offline mode?
I think it.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, Left 4 Dead did. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can play couch co-op. Also, disclaimer: anything I say on this podcast is my own opinion and not Warner Brothers or anything. I think Warner Brothers games put out Back 4 Blood, maybe. So
Whoops.
just gotta put that caveat. I'm talking on my behalf.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I had to say about it. I fucking hate it.
Yeah. So I'll posit this out for the Back 4 Blood thing. That game, of course, as we all know, is advertised as like a big, online co-op thing where you play with your friends. And if that's, I feel like a lot of people buying the game are going to be pretty much going in with that mindset anyway of like going with their friends. However, I can't say I disagree with Gabe, man. Like the fact that, let's say you buy the okay, actually before I continue, the game itself, Back 4 Blood, it does feature online. Can you play online with randoms?
I'm assuming yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can't play,
is what you're talking about.
Yeah. If you can play online with random, that's a little more forgivable because then like even if you're by yourself and you don't have enough friends free or any friends free, then you can at least go with them. That has no appeal to me, by the way. Like I don't play online games by myself. If I play on games, it's with people. That's just me though. But yeah, the whole thing like for Back 4 Blood, like if when we get the game, like we've talked about getting this game on the podcast, so all of us in the podcast crew can play together. That was kind of like the thing. So I feel like it's something we're all going to enjoy. But like if there's like no other mode to like play with it, it's just like that game was not going to have any value except when we pretty much play with together. It's not for me. I'm speaking very personally right now, that the fact that this game will only have value if I'm playing with friends. And I even if it does have an online mode where you can play randoms, I'm never going to use that. And if there's no solo mode, then that's another reason why I won't be playing it, because it's not there. So like it would only be of value if we're playing together. And if that's their selling point, then great. I guess that's not going to ruin the game sales or anything like that. I just feel like if that mode is just not there altogether, it's going to turn a lot of people off.
Can I posit? What if you frame it as a game like Destiny or a game like Final Fantasy 14, right? Like what if the idea of this game is that it's closer to an MMO type game where it's really just about being online with a bunch of people experiencing stuff together, and that's kind of the avenue and the demographic that they're trying to hit, as opposed to like here's this game type that used to just be individual or couch co-op kind of thing that we're now kind of like moving to this other pasture, if that makes sense. Like how would you feel about it if that were the idea behind it?
Yeah, I mean, well, in that example with Final Fantasy 14 specifically, it's an MMORPG, so people are always
a
going
critically
to be there.
acclaimed MMORPG that you can play up to level 60 with
play up
for the
to
first
sweet.
2 expansion packs, including Heavensward.
Yes, thank you.
We're
Yeah,
not sponsored.
we're certainly not. Oh boy, I wish we were though.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's like the best MMORPG ever made. So
yes,
just throwing that
but
out there.
getting into it, that yes, it's an MMO
Had a
because
cough,
so
damn.
there will always be people there, whether you want to play it or not. It's up to you entirely if you want to actually play with them. And if you're going to like certain raids, you'll need people. But you can play, even though it is an MMO, you can play a good amount of that game by yourself in that instance. Whereas with Back 4 Blood, because that very game structure is built upon a team coming together to fight against the zombie horde, like Left 4 Dead, which was like focused on the 4-player. Back 4 Blood is this very much the same concept. So I definitely see the comparison, but it's also kind of different, especially in the case of because you can play by yourself even if the people are there.
No, absolutely.
I dislike games that are online only because my internet is trash.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
If there's no like, you know, little couch co-op, you know, I think too many game developers are writing off couch co-op too soon. There is still a market for that.
Austin's like, no, you're wrong.
No, dude, I disagree. I disagree.
I just don't agree. Yeah.
It takes,
it takes
This game
example.
proves that couch co-op is still alive and kicking.
And I'm a person that owns a Nintendo Switch, man. There's so many there's so many couch co-op games on that beast that I use it so often.
Well, I'm just gonna say my internet's trash, so I hate games that require online only. I have such an issue with video games that don't need to be online, that require online checks, that I can't play when I go somewhere, even though I purchased them. I think that is trash. But however, saying that, I played a lot of Left 4 Dead. I completely understand why Back 4 Blood would be online only. And maybe this is because I'm biased and I really enjoyed Left 4 Dead, but I don't think that Back 4 Blood is a game that I would play single player anyway, if that makes sense. It's one of those that I'm only gonna play when I'm like, hey guys, let's fucking kill zombies together. Then I'm like,
ghost us and not show up.
And then I'm not going to show up. Yeah, I'm going to ask you guys, invite you, and then not show up, as I usually do because I always cancel. But yeah, so I think in this case, I am not too upset about it. Although in general, I do think sometimes it does really suck when games are online only, because you never know anyone's situation, right? Like I was stuck in COVID. I had like no money, and I was like, oh shit, am I also not going to have internet? Like, what am I going to be able to play? Final Fantasy 14 was off the table at that time. I got to go read a fucking book, because like I can't like, not that that's bad. Everyone should read. Reading is
damn
great.
it. Have to read.
You know what I mean? Like
unbelievable.
Anything can happen. So it sucks when you are in a situation where online only doesn't allow you to play something. But at the same time, I do think Back 4 Blood is one that I'm not complaining about, because there are games made with specific structures that I think people will play online only. Like I think fighting games are a great example. Yeah, sure, there's a story mode in, you know, Guilty Gear Strive, but once you finish that, how long are you gonna continue to play the story, right? You want to get on and play other people. And I think that even in, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure even in Guilty Gear Strive, you have to connect, or at least I've had to connect every single time. What the heck? Every single time I've tried to get on, I've had to connect online. And I think that I can't even play the story mode without connecting online, which is another issue that I would have. But I'm done. Kelly, did you want to jump in on this before I move on?
No.
Okay, great. So the next topic is from Eurogamer.net. And Austin, I'm very interested in your opinion on this one. What? Why'd you make that noise?
No, because you're interested in my opinion.
I'm always interested in your opinion. I love your opinions. So
you are in a select crowd. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I don't believe you. The Among Us devs admit that they felt burnt out and overwhelmed following the indie game's success. They said it's a lot of pressure and it's overwhelming. This is a news piece from Eurogamer.net by Vicky Blake. And there's a quote here that says, Among Us going viral, it was just like, okay, this is my life, said artist Amy Liu. The pressure got to get things done quickly was really high. September to December, we're talking to Xbox, PlayStation. They were going to try to get Among Us on these platforms, which usually takes many months, like half year to a year. We were like 3 months, we're going to try that. I definitely burned out, Lou told Anthony Padilla from Kotaku. It was tough because during all of this, we weren't able to see our friends and family. Being so tired from working, I couldn't even go visit my family during COVID and had to spend holidays alone. And that was definitely the hardest time. When you're under hundreds of millions of people's worth of pressure, they don't understand that it takes months. The server issues should be fixed tomorrow. Adding new stuff should be next week. It's so easy to them. It's a lot of pressure. It's overwhelming. Added programmer Forrest Willard. So the reason I brought this up is because obviously Among Us is hugely successful, as we all know, and now it's come to every single platform. You know, we had it on Switch first, now we've got it on PlayStation and Xbox. It's on PC, it's on mobile. Austin, is there anything that's happened to you, or do you have any insight or any situation in which, like, obviously you don't have to name anything, but any situation in which you've had to deal with this type of pressure? Can you tell us a little bit about it at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my heart goes out to those people. Like, granted, I know they've made a ton of money, and that's like really cool. But I felt everything that they were saying in that article. When I was working on BioShock Infinite, I signed on as a contractor in the last 6 months of the project to do QA, and the entire time We work 12-hour days, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. The idea, the idea was like, hey, we got to get this game shipped. We got to do these things. Like, we need more people to help us do it. That's how like some of us came on, and it was like I look back really fondly on that experience because it like was the first step for me in my like career in games. But yeah, my like health was poor. I gained a bunch of weight. I wasn't eating healthy. I was drinking a bunch, and like not like I would just go home, sleep, go back to work, go home, sleep, go back to work. And like I made some really wonderful friends that I'm still friends with to this day, and like kind of get that like in the trenches vibe. But like there's a reason why the average career length of a game developer is 3 to 5 years, and it's stuff like that.
I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry. Like, I wish I could hug you right now. I feel so bad. I love Bioshock Infinite. If it makes it feel any better, like it's a great game.
Yeah, I'm glad the work was like well worth it. I'm glad it was. I think it was received pretty well. And but like that's the pressure, right? Like you have like 120 people who are like working their tails off to like make something that not only they're proud of, but like a fucking huge audience is like just chomping at the bit for. And yeah.
I can't believe, like,
it's
those
stressful.
work hours. Like, that is, yeah, super stressful. Those work hours, I can't even imagine it. Kelly, Gabe, Brandon, we've all played Among Us before. How do you guys feel about hearing this?
It's sadly not that surprising, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, we all pretty much know the story about how Among Us, you know, when that first came out in 2018, wasn't big at all. It was a very small indie project. They could easily maintain a game of that size at the time. But, you know, during 2020 is where that game really started to gain, you know, popularity and traction. And, you know, a lot more people were playing it. There was a lot more expectations on the game than there were previously. And as a result, they had to kind of like double down on the work just to make sure that game could be sustainable, because now more people were playing it, you know, to the point where they even canceled Among Us 2 so they could just focus on the base game, add new maps, add new game modes, all that good stuff. And with the advent of new platforms being added to the game itself, that only, of course, increases the workload, because now that's a new audience. Like, you know, when the Switch version came out, that was more people that started playing Among Us. Now it's on, you said, PlayStation and Xbox. That's even more people that are now playing it. The servers now need to accommodate for all these people, because crossplay is also a thing in every single one of these platforms. So, you know, managing to make sure that everyone, no matter what platform you're using, can all play together. Keeping these modes coming so interest doesn't die for the game, because they have the momentum. They have to keep that going if they want people to keep playing it. Because, you know, I hate to say it because I love Fall Guys, but a lot of people were giving hate to Fall Guys because they were taking really long to get those updates out. And my heart goes out to those developers as well, because, you know, once those updates came out, they were fantastic. But Among Us is clearly trying not to fall into that same hole where they want to make sure that game stays relevant for as long as possible, because that's now their livelihood of this game suddenly. So I understand it. I really understand how it suddenly could have gone from this manageable workload to suddenly becoming really overwhelming, and it's sad. And again, I tip my hat off to them for doing as much as they can, because they really have done a lot to keep that game going. That a lot of people are still talking about it longer than most people would have assumed, because we're now halfway into 2021. You know, that game got its big boom rise in 2020. And there's people are still talking about it. People are still playing it. A lot of people didn't think we would. It's definitely not as big as
E3, right?
What's up?
We saw it at E3, right? Did we?
We did see a little bit at E3. Like, got a little preview for some of the modes that are coming out. They're not out quite yet, but they gave us a little insight about what's coming. So that's even more evidence that, you know, it was on E3 where the big game announcements are shown. So, like,
okay.
What?
I don't think that it being an E3 is that big of a deal now.
Now you see why I put up that clip of the last
Oh
podcast.
no!
That's a good clip. I like that.
No,
that was a good face.
No.
It's good. It's flatter.
I highly disagree. I just think, you know, it being at E3 is not what you're making it out to be, because anything could be at E3. Now, honestly, some of the best presentations at E3 were
anything could have been at this E3. Certainly,
I mean, Verizon was at E3.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. If we're talking about former E3s where it was kind of like an elite club where only like the big three can go. I mean, we're not in those days anymore. Anything can go in E3 these days. So you're certainly right about that. I just think, you know, it's cool that it was there.
Kelly or Gabe, do you have anything to say on this one? No?
I feel, I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I feel like they just were not prepared for this. And then like, I mean, it gets like thrust upon you like, oh shit, people are noticing our game that came out 2 or 3 years ago again. Like, they were probably working on other stuff and they had to like, kind of like put that on the back burner. That would kind of suck. But at the same time, to have your game be successful should be like an exciting time. So I think that they were excited, but really burnt out because they weren't expecting to put this much into this game that had already been out and had already like pretty much probably run its course, if I'm being honest. Just like a little game like that. Like I don't know. I wonder what they would have been working on. I guess they were working on number 2, so it was doing all right, but they just were not prepared for this kind of success. I mean, not to mince words, but blew the fuck up. So yeah, I don't think they were prepared. It sucks that they had to like probably work overtime, I'm sure. But like I said, the success of your game, especially like Underdog Tale, like you're like, oh, this game, well, it did all right. And then it's just like, boom, you're like the game on Twitch or like the game on Steam. It has to feel pretty good as well.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting that you bring up the fact that it was like done and then it came back. I think that's such a thing to keep in mind when you think about, reading this interview and how they feel, because I can only imagine being done with something, right? Like I'm like, okay, I'm done, I'm finished. And then like a year from now, they're like, no, you have to put out like so much effort into this one thing that you thought you were done with. And I'm like, holy fuck, like I have to jump back into that seat. So I think that's a very interesting concept that you brought up, the fact that it was something that they had to come back to that they were already done with. I'm gonna take another break and then we'll be right back again. Stay tuned, people. And we're back. Sorry, that was so exciting.
Sorry.
I was a little too excited to come back. But guess what? We're back and we're going to hop right back into things. So I don't know if you guys know, but Cyberpunk 2077 is now back on the PSN store. And I specifically wanted to talk about this because once again, I have Austin here. So Austin, your opinion on this entire Cyberpunk 2077 thing where they released the game, it's unplayable on base PS4, and Sony takes it off the market for months, or at least off the PlayStation Network for months. I cannot remember another game, maybe 1 or 2 games that this happened to, but I can't remember a game that's been off this long because it was unplayable. It is now playable again and back on the PlayStation Store for PlayStation 4 Pro and PS5. And there's going to be a free next-gen update available for all owners of the PS4 version in the second half of 2021. Same thing for Xbox. But I believe somewhere there is a mention that you should probably still not play it on base consoles. Austin, in your humble opinion, what do you feel about this? How does this happen? Like, what did you feel about the entire Cyberpunk situation?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's just so much stuff involved in that story, and it's hard to know all the facts, and I think that just a lot of times the internet will just find a like an idea and just run with it and shoot it through the roof, and then it's everybody's idea. So like I'm wary to like side on like one way or the other, but all I know is it's really unfortunate. I know if I were on that team, I'd be super fucking sad. And I think that the leadership of that studio made their choices for whatever reason, financial or legal or whatever. They're like just pride, whatever it was, and I think they really did a lot of damage to their image, to their coworkers, to like everything. Like that's rough. I know it made a bunch of money, but it's rough.
Yeah. Can I ask, how do you feel about the game being taken off of the PlayStation Network?
I think it's great. I mean, I think PlayStation has like as extra, like I think there's this thing where because so much of our like lives is ruled by like corporations and capitalism that we like kind of have to rely on like corporations to be ethical or to be like for us as consumers, and like slippery slope to put it short. But I think it's great. I mean, like you don't, as PlayStation, you're incurring way more costs than you are getting anything back with this kind of stuff happening. I think so. Taking it off the store to be like, hey, we listen to our players, people are clearly unhappy, we have a standard, like I think they're setting like a a good like PR situation for themselves there. And I say more power to them for like protecting their players, you know.
The question is it all, you know, a PR situation, or was it like genuine? That's the real question that we don't know the answer to. Gabe, Kelly, Brandon, I know Kelly is so sick of talking about Cyberpunk, so I like.
You see it on her face. I feel like I see it on her face.
She's so done with Cyberpunk.
I have resting bitch face, I will have you know.
Well,
but we have talked about Cyberpunk a lot, so. And,
it is the gift that keeps on giving.
I mean,
as
it's
they say.
finally coming back.
I still think it's bullshit. You can't play on a base PS4. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's why.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
That's why you can't play a remake integrate on PS4, because Square Enix.
But that's a whole, you know, that's a whole other argument.
We're not.
I like the idea that all that happened and Square Enix was like. I love the idea that maybe Square was like planning on doing intermission on PS4 as well. When they saw Cyberpunk and they just did the whole monkey thing, was like,
right? They're like, well, that turned out really bad. People were talking shit about their textures, and now you can't play at all.
Literally have an entire podcast of Drell and I going back and forth over the Square Enix thing, but I don't like to. Ow, shit, goddamn. Sorry for the language. Okay. But like I don't know, like when the PS5 was coming out and the new gens were coming out, obviously the whole big thing was like, you know, we're not abandoning the current gen. Like you're still going to be able to play a bunch of games on current gen. And then something like Cyberpunk 2077, which, you know, I'm not going to say everyone, but there was a lot of people that were excited for the game because it was announced so long ago. And then it kept getting hit with so many delays. And all of a sudden it's like, here's the game. Oh, wait. It sucks on console, and you know, if you don't have a PS4 Pro, it's gonna suck even more. And then months go by, and yeah, you got your refund, but then it's like, oh yeah, guess what? Well, we're bringing it back to the PlayStation Store. You know, you can buy it again, but it's like, yeah, if you have a PS4 original, don't even try it. But like, just pack up and go. I think that kind of sucks for them.
Well,
hopefully,
like
for. Go
Sorry, I feel like you can kind of tie in what you're saying here into the other two topics around like pressure for like Last of Us and like what that means for developers. You know what I mean? Like that could have been another reason why they pushed things through, right? Like the game had been in development for like technically like 12 years. I think it's probably closer to like 8, but still it's an insane amount of time. That's almost like a decade. And so it's like you have this like fan hype that just keeps building and building and building, and it's just like inevitably you're like, we need to do, like we can't keep sitting on this, right? We have to like move it forward in some sort of way. And then when it doesn't do well, like Last of Us, and it does like Cyberpunk, you get, this is the kind of shitstorm you incur.
Yeah, and again, I feel bad, you know, for the developers and the team that worked on it, because, you know, it's a very high chance that it was the leadership that was like, we need to push the fucking game out. But again, like, I don't know, I feel bad for the people who still have regular PS4 consoles, because, you know, it's still almost really hard to get, if we talk about this is also going to burst one of my nerves. It's still really hard to get a new gen console, because you have assholes like GameStop saying, hey, if you're a pro member, you get first dibs. Dicks. Sorry. But yeah, so I don't know, good for the game coming back and, you know, being playable apparently on the PS4 Pro and the PS5, but RIP to the PS4 people.
You know, I feel like also what plays a part in this is a lot of people's perception on these studios. And I always say this, and I will continue to say this: Nintendo gets away with so much shit because people love them so much. Yeah. And it's kind of unfair in the scheme of things. It's very unfair for, you know, companies like Naughty Dog, that we have reports. Obviously, I don't know, but we have certain reports about how things work, you know, there, and, you know, crunch times with Last of Us, and forcing devs to get things out. And yet, you know, games like that will win game of the year because it's so good, because people love them as a company. And Nintendo can get away with having this really shitty online on your phone app that you're supposed to connect and talk to people with, but nobody's gonna talk.
That's a whole other fucking podcast.
There's my point being that it's kind of why PlayStation also, I think, gets away with a lot of things, even though Xbox does some things better than PlayStation. PlayStation gets away with a lot of things as well because they have really good audience perception. And speaking of really good audience perception, there's an article titled "After Years of Fighting It, Sony Finally Caves and Says They Will Grow Crossplay." This is from Chris Carter over at Destructoid.com. And there's a quote here that says Ryan notes that they will now support and encourage crossplay as of this past week. He explains that the number will continue to grow despite trying to take a revenue cut for graciously allowing crossplay on their platform, saying that there was no point in the future because PlayStation, the best place to play, and insisting that crossplay doesn't help the PlayStation brand. And so we found out a little bit during that Apple versus Epic Games that PlayStation is one of those companies that charges an extra cut of revenue to allow for crossplay. But apparently now they're opening up to, allowing more crossplay. Is there anything you guys want to say on that before I move on?
Yeah, just real quick. This message is 100% PR necessity because, Sony was getting so much backlash for their backwards thinking on the whole crossplay situation. And I don't even necessarily think that this statement is necessarily them changing their tune on it.
Brendan, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Were they actually getting that much backlash? Because what I remember is that people were just mad that Fortnite wasn't on, and then they put Fortnite on, and that was it. I don't remember it being like
Fortnite was the one that brought attention to it, I would say, because there was always a passive, the passive bunch that was always bemoaning the fact that there was no crossplay on PlayStation systems. But Fortnite, because of just how big that game is, it's like that really brought attention to it. And then other games started getting noticed. Then people started noticing that you couldn't do it on other games like Rocket League or what have you. And it was a snowball effect. It wasn't necessarily I don't think Fortnite maybe Fortnite was like the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess you could say. It was always there. It's just it's what just let the floodgates open. And I guess to answer your question about whether it was really such a big deal, I guess it was more of Jim Ryan and PlayStation's just statement on the whole thing that PlayStation is the best place to play your game, so why would we allow crossplay? It was the flippant attitude that you're foolish for wanting crossplay. It's the same energy as saying who would want to play old games. It's just telling consumers that they're dumb for wanting the things that they want. If you don't want it, that's 100% okay, whatever. But if you do want it, and companies saying, why would you want this? Of course you're going to be upset because you don't want your decisions, your personal decisions to be why would you want something like that? It's because I do. What's your problem? A lot of people, they want to buy their game on PlayStation. Best friends got it on Xbox. They just want to play together. We're not in a state right now where crossplay is something you can just know is going to be there. It's just going to be a case-by-case basis. And I guess to just wrap this up with what I'm saying is I'm glad that for whatever reason they're saying it, that they are embracing crossplay a little bit more, and hopefully we see it more going forward.
I was just say I think we will start to be able to expect it as a consistent thing. And I think that while maybe it's not maybe it's never been financially in Sony's it's never been beneficial monetarily for them to do crossplay. They see the tides changing, and so I just as a gamer myself, I'm just excited that it's the walls are coming down across the board regardless of how we got there. Just sure. I want to fucking play Destiny with friends who play on PC or Xbox, and that shit is super fun, and I'm ready for that.
I think Overwatch is such a big deal right now because it's been out for so long.
Yeah. And
it's one that so many people either you played on one or the other where your friend set was, and now being able to, open that up to everyone has been really awesome. So I'm gonna move on and talk about the GameStop top 10 game pre-orders following E3. And number 1 was Metroid Dread. Number 2 was Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Number 3 was Mario Golf Switch. Number 4 was Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Number 5 was Mario Party Superstars. Number 6 was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Party. Number 7 was Far Cry 6. Number 8 was Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance. Number 9 was Madden NFL 22. Number 10 was Pokemon Legends Arceus. And as an honorable mention, this article has Halo Infinite as number 11. This is from NintendoEverything.com. I wanted to bring that up because that shows the power of E3 and everyone watching the Nintendo conference, because those are the top 10.
That was a lot of Nintendo. That was more Nintendo than I was expecting.
Like the top 10. The whole half, the beginning half is just Nintendo making money from all of this.
Honestly. I'll just put out there that I think one of the main reasons that Metroid Dread is so high, like obviously a lot of people have been waiting for a Metroid game for a long time, but there was also that special edition that people just couldn't wait to get their hands on, and you put out something like that, and that'll really drive the pre-order numbers up just so they can get their hands on that, especially in GameStop, like because they just really want it. But that's the only really like caveat I would offer, because like the other games, I guess we're just like people are just really excited for them because. I mean, Skyward Sword, there's special stuff surrounding Skyward Sword, but there's no like special edition of Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? Like there's a controller and the amiibo, but you can't get them all in one thing. So that's just, people are just excited for that. And then the other games, people just really, I'm surprised that Mario Golf Super Rush jumped so high after E3. Like I figured if people really wanted the game, they would have pre-ordered that like a while ago, you know, because that was announced a few months ago and that's coming out tomorrow as of this recording. So
I'm pretty sure it was the Treehouse, because the gameplay, like
true.
we were getting a lot of trailers and stuff, but then we finally got the Treehouse where people were actually playing it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of something that wasn't someone playing games,
I was surprised. I had an opinion on the list.
Hurry though.
Okay, I have actually two surprises. One was Pokemon Arceus being so low compared to the other Nintendo games, and then two, Skyward Sword being number 2 on that list, because it's, again, even within the Zelda fandom, it's one of the more like looked down upon games. And then 2, like, you know, it's, I don't know, like it's not a new Zelda game, so I'm actually just genuinely surprised that was at number 2.
It also goes to show that a lot of people online are crapping on it, but it's number 2 on the pre-orders. So what does that really mean?
Yeah, fuck you, Twitter people. I'm kidding. We love you. Please follow us.
Yeah. What? Also, they didn't show Arceus. They didn't show Pokemon Arceus, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, why did that shoot up so high when it wasn't even shown at E3?
Because when you look at GameStop's website and you purchase, when you purchase those, you're gonna see like in your suggested, oh hey, there's this other Pokemon.
I guess
game.
Sure.
Yeah, but they didn't show the other two, the remakes during E3. Yeah,
and so I thought they would, like during the Treehouse. I thought.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna come for you know the Treehouse gameplay, but.
This is because when you go on GameStop's website and you go buy Zelda, they're gonna show you all the other Nintendo shit that you could buy, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I remember that game." Blah blah blah. Anyway, so someone who's not making money right now are Amaranth and Indie Fox, because Twitch has banned popular streamers Amaranth and Indie Fox after a yoga ASMR stream. This wasn't about a hot dog.
They've been unbanned after a 3-day ban.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is from Polygon.com. Kelly, tell me all about it, please.
So the controversy now, because I know all about the Twitch controversies, because I love drama. They were doing ASMR streams, which ASMR has been on Twitch for a while. It's appropriate, but I have seen this ear licking thing before. Yeah. It's usually like, I don't know, they're just like slurping on their microphone. Like, yeah, I don't know. If someone licked on my ear like that, I'd not be.
To interrupt you for a second, what this says is that they were doing an ASMR yoga stream where they held various yoga poses and simulated the sound of having your ear licked using a microphone.
So it was
considered sexual.
What the fuck does that sound like?
So they were no. No.
Oh my God, stop it!
Like that. That's what they were doing. Okay, let me describe to you what they were doing. First of all, I'm pretty sure Amaranth was wearing literally a horse head mask, and she was like doing the horse kind of thing. But they bend over, wearing yoga pants, not naked, but they're bending. Like, imagine I'm turned this way and I'm bent over, and my mic is like away from me, and I'm slurping on it, looking at the camera directly into it, slurping on something while I'm bent over. It's pretty sexual.
I mean, if you're wearing a horse head, is it?
Well, I mean,
I think
I'm not ready to go down that
for
path.
some people.
Okay, never mind.
that
people.
might not be why she got banned, but there was a video of her doing that. I'm not exactly sure, but she was bending over, and that's why people had a problem with it. I don't really necessarily have a problem with it. It does seem kind of sexual. What I hate about it is that men were so satisfied. Like, ew, like,
Yeah.
stop. First of all, I don't know if you're going to get off on that, whatever, but like, they were so happy to see them get banned. People were like cheering and stuff. And I'm like,
Bullshit.
you're disgusting. Like, you're allowed to get on there and be mediocre all the time. Why can't they get on there and like bend over? I've had mixed feelings on hot tub streaming and other adult like content on Twitch, but at the same time, like, I drop F-bombs like it's the end of the fucking world. Is that more appropriate or less? Like, I don't know.
I hard agree. I think it's fucking atrocious and bullshit that fucking, it's just so dumb. Like, women are constantly on the internet just like held to like some weird ass standard that nobody else is held to. And it's like, who fucking cares 100%. If they're doing yoga poses in a horse head, making ASMR sounds? Who fucking cares if they're doing that shit in a fucking hot tub or the portable pools or whatever, like, or in a bikini or in whatever they want to fucking wear? Like they're making content for your platform and you're making money off of it. They're making content, people are consuming it, and like to vilify them for just making that content, it's like for no reason. Like, oh, you're this because you do this thing. Like, what the fuck?
I love the names of the articles though. They're like, Twitch streamers, Amaranth and Indie Fox banned for being too sexy. It's just giving them like more publicity, to be honest with you. But yeah, I really think that there was like a guy that went on a crazy TikTok rant about women on Twitch. Women don't enjoy playing video games. They only I'm like, oh, okay. So
Girl,
like,
if you don't have sex, just say it. You don't have to do all this extra shit, bro.
Like to say
Damn.
But it was like
goodness.
a heated
No,
thing
yeah, I
that he
saw
was
it.
saying.
Yeah, I saw it.
He was like very upset, and I'm just like, why are you so mad that women exist?
You don't get
I don't
nothing.
I guess it just really like I feel like that's why the bans happen, because men report their channels, so then people are like, oh well, this is apparently a problem, everyone's reporting it, so then but like if someone wants to watch someone with a horse head like licking a microphone, they're not taking away from you sucking at Fortnite, because no one's watching your shit. Like, don't be mad that ain't nobody watching you. Like, I don't.
Well, and the standard's bullshit. Like, you have like high grossing streamers using like racial slurs and anti-Semitism and like all this shit, and they're like, it takes like forever for them to get
any
fucking
type
banned
of,
or any and then like they do, like, women do this one thing that is like pretty fucking offbeat. Like, it's like almost funny how weird it is, and it's like
weird.
Yeah, well, but yeah, and like, who, like, great, like, that's like, you have your corner of the internet just like everyone has their corner of the internet. Like, just fucking leave them alone. It's just, men are trash.
Oh,
to me, that's comedy. Like, if I see somebody in a horse mask bending over and going in the mic, I'm gonna laugh. I'm not gonna be like, that's too sexual. I'm not gonna start being like, yeah, like, I'm gonna start laughing, bro. Like, what?
That's a good gif right there, by the way, though.
Like,
yeah, right?
Oh, guess who's going on our social media again?
I've already been called a horse girl. I really don't need this right now. I don't need any more bad publicity.
I learned what horse girl was in this podcast.
Oh, man. The only thing I will say about this story is that I'm so disappointed that we did not get HPCritical yoga pants and think of this first, because we would have so much money right now. And
I mean, we do have tights on our Teespring, which you can find on our website.
Wait, but for men, like, do they fit male bodies? I'll put on some fucking.
I will let you know when I order mine.
Yeah, we got to get it together. We will have a stream in honor of Amaranth and see how much money we make.
It's gonna be ass on the screen,
honestly,
and we're gonna be into your mic.
I am super
so
not throwing
much
my ass on the
money,
screen.
and first of all,
Yes,
Twitch
you will.
takes half your revenue, so fuck
They really
Twitch
do.
anyways.
They really
but like,
do.
why am I not just like in a hot tub?
Bruh,
making
that's what
lots
I'm
of money?
saying.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. I did get a message from someone who said they would pay to see me in the hot tub recording. So, you know, we might have to.
Hello, what are you doing? You're stunting the growth of the channel.
You weren't supposed to tell people I sent you that message, girl. What the fuck?
Moving right along. There's another
Nice.
article.
Good transition.
Thank you. Titled "Xbox Game Studios exec says the focus is diversity in game studios and players." This is from Polygon.com, written by Nicole Carpenter. And it says, based on the Xbox and Bethesda E3 showcase, there appears to be no one type of gamer that the company is targeting, with games both big and small in the mix. And there's the temptation of a good deal with Xbox Game Pass and ease of access via Xbox Cloud Gaming. But the company's focus on inclusivity goes deeper than that. Xbox Game Studios publishing head Peter Weiss told Polygon, inclusivity is a core tenet for the company beyond its games. And there's a quote here that says, you can see this come to focus in a game like Tell Me Why. We're super proud of that game. It speaks to our values around LGBTQIA plus representation, mental health awareness, and more. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but how do you guys feel about like Xbox's focus on diversity? And by that, I mean, do you notice it? Do you recognize it? Is it something that you can tell is actually happening behind the scenes?
I think it's extremely noticeable, especially after watching their latest E3, because, you know, Xbox game, the Xbox system had like very limited demographics, I would say, during the original Xbox and 360 eras. During the Xbox One eras, where I noticed that we're starting to get a little more variety in the kind of games we got, and now it's very apparent in the current era, especially with them advertising all these different games you can get on Game Pass. Now you have shooters, racers, RPGs, narrative-driven games, more colorful games like that Party Animals game that they showed at E3 as well. I really do think that there is a lot more diversity on in the lineup of Xbox. I think we are seeing it.
What do you mean in diversity in that sense? Just
diversity
like
in the type, diversity in the type of games that you,
okay,
yeah, that you
You're talking genre.
Exactly,
yeah.
genre.
Because I was like, none of that.
No. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm not speaking on that because I'll be real. I haven't looked deeply enough into like the Xbox library to like know how well they are or not doing it. But I can speak on the different genres that are like, you know, presenting themselves out there. There's a lot more than there used to be.
Anyone else before I talk about black people?
The only thing that I'll say is they sent that did you see the controllers that they made for Pride?
I did. The ones that they're not selling that I didn't get. Yeah.
Oh, well, sorry.
I did.
They made them and they gave them to famous people. So that's something we can all be happy about. You're rich and you got free stuff. Yay.
Well, what I will say also is that they've been really good at giving things to smaller content creators.
Yeah,
they're very good at doing, you know, content over numbers currently. And you know, obviously that makes sense because if you have a dedicated like group that is going to actually buy the things you have, they're more important than, you know, someone who has millions of followers who aren't going to buy anything from you anyway.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like they're just trying to get money by just selling something, like just, you know, selling bullshit to people just because it's rainbow, like during Pride. They're actually like giving it and like doing that, which is kind of better. But Jarrell wants it, so sell it to him. Damn it!
Yeah, I would buy it. It's so good looking, and the worst part is you cannot recreate that shit in their Xbox controller creator thing. The only other thing I will say is I think Redfall is a great example. Like, I was so over E3 and then I saw Redfall and I was like, who is this beautiful black woman on my screen? I'm gonna play her all the time. Like, that is the one thing that saved the Xbox E3 presentation for me. Not that it was bad, it's just even though there was variety, there was nothing really that interests me. But you can see when these companies put people on stage, you can see who they have, you know, going on stage. You can see who represents what. You can see who's working behind the scenes. And then when you have games like Redfall, where, you know, one of the most exciting things was just the character design, right? And this is not an offensive thing to anyone, but, you know, finally not seeing a cast full of white people is really awesome. I complained about Tales of Arise because the first things we saw, I was like, damn, it's so many pale ass motherfucking characters. Like, I'm so uninterested. And then I finally saw that they got someone that's actually brown. And I was like, oh, holy shit, you guys are able to do that. Wow, that's amazing. And now I'm 10 times more interested in it. So seeing a game like Redfall coming exclusively to Xbox makes me very proud to be able to own an Xbox. Definitely something I'm going to play day one. So I can see the, you know, the acquisition of Bethesda and the behind the scenes stuff. And even Bethesda, you know, like games like Dishonored 2, they have quite a few games that do have somewhat of a diverse cast. So you know, Fallout, I'm not a Fallout fan, but at least you could be black. And you know,
I would say I didn't watch any of E3 really.
You missed nothing.
Yeah, I mean, also like starting a new job, I'm like heads down on that and tired as fuck after that. But the one thing that I can say is like in my experience, either as a consumer or as a professional, like the one thing I've always really appreciated is Microsoft's attention to accessibility. And I know that's like kind of within the diversity field potentially, but that's something I've always loved, like their control, like that accessibility controller. They have so many people behind the scenes who are really, really passionate about accessibility and stuff. And so I can say for sure that at least part of that is true, and what they're saying is true. It might be taking a little longer to get to the point, the more visible point that you're talking about, Darrell, which is just always going to be unfortunate. But I'm hopeful that it'll kind of like pick up steam pretty soon.
Quick question. Was this about diversity in gaming genres or diversity in humans?
It was in gamers, human. It was in humans. The article essentially talks about how their focus on diversity, like Tell Me Why, for example, is a game all about the LGBTQIA plus community and how that has led to opportunities for people to, get to know and play those through that game. And then my example was Redfall having your Black female character at the forefront in the very beginning, and one that looks, actually like someone that I know. So it's about diversity in humans and the types of gamers that they are able to reach, not necessarily the genres.
Oh, okay.
Did you have?
No, I don't got anything to say. I didn't watch the E3 presentation.
You didn't have to
fuck
watch
Xbox.
the presentation and be happy about their diversity.
I mean,
okay.
I'm happy about it. But
fuck Xbox.
Hold on. Your question.
Fine.
No, your question was, do you see it? And I can't answer that question because I don't watch their stuff.
See it to watch E3. I mean, you can look at.
No,
like,
I'm not saying
like,
that necessarily just E3, but like anything that's Xbox, I don't generally keep an eye on, so I actually have no input on it.
But the thing is, okay, I hear you. I'm just saying you don't have to watch E3. I mean, you can do what Kelly did. She talked about the Pride controllers that they sent out. That's something like that's a PR thing to show that they're a part of Pride, and that has nothing to do with any game that they showed off. So,
I mean, yeah, that's true. But I also feel like that's a bad example because I feel like you should have made that available to everybody. But
yeah, and then I would be like, wow, look at Xbox pandering and taking all my money by selling me this Xbox controller.
You're just impossible.
Decided to give it to yes, I'm impossible. Instead, they decided to give it to influential people that were LGBT in the community, content creators that deserve things nice.
Oh, so they gave it specifically to LGBT. Yes. You know what I'm trying to say, people? Okay, because when I read it, it was like I it's a tongue twister for me. I can't say it. Because when I read it, like they didn't specify that, so like, oh, they just handed it out. Like, what if you handed it out to like this random dude that he's secretly homophobic? Okay, that's cool. No, that's cool. I mean,
all right. I have a question. What happens if someone finds out my IP address? What can they do?
Oh,
like what's the worst that could happen?
They could find out where you live, I'm pretty sure, from your IP
address. But it's like general area, right? Like parts of a city. And maybe it's worse if you live in a smaller area. I guess I just normally live in cities. Oh yeah, I guess that could be kind of bad.
So wait,
I think the thing is though, like, I think the thing is that like finding someone's IP address, like from there, like that's the hardest thing to do, and from there you can basically just find out everything else. Because that's one of the biggest things. Like, yeah, it's a general area, but it's so like after that, it's so easy to zone in on someone specific. How do you do it though? I'm not sure.
Don't tell people.
Yeah, this is actually something illegal that I don't know about. But it's very that's something though, like why VPNs are like such a big thing now is because you want to hide your IP address, because once someone gets a hold of your IP address, it's kind of easy to go on from there.
Okay, so essentially they can get a hold of my IP address, and then they'll have my actual address, and then they can get more information based off of that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if they have your IP address, if they know how to get that on their own, they probably know how to do other things with it. Is kind of my perspective. But like I'm not saying it's a good thing that it was available, like visible on screen or whatever. But I don't know what I would do with it, right? Like if I saw somebody's IP address, I don't like it. Okay, that's a 7 numbers. I can probably plug it into Google, figure out where in the world that is, and then be done.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I ask is because Austin was alluding to it. The Marvel's Avengers is now was showing your IP address on screen after a new patch. So like you would log in and your entire IP address would be right there on the screen for everyone to see, as far as I'm understanding this. There's a patch that went out today to hopefully improve or fix that, because they were aware of the issue of people's IP addresses coming up. And so I didn't know potentially what that meant, which is why I asked what happens when someone knows your IP address. But according to this article at Forbes, this is honestly one of the worst bugs they've ever heard of. People getting a hold of your IP address can cause all manner of havoc with your internet connection with DDoS attacks, or potentially get their hands on other information. And it doesn't go on to say more, which is why I was like, what happens? I guess it's not as bad, because I don't know that people would, unless you have some asshole that just like randomly goes on and just picks someone's IP address and just destroys
the men of the internet that we already talked about. Those are the guys
Very
who do
true.
it.
Yeah. So an IP address is actually how devices, I'm looking right at the word, communicate to each other. So it's again, yeah, once they get a hold of your IP address, it's very easy to zone in on where you're using the device. So that's kind of the whole thing of an IP address.
Well, it's being fixed, but I don't know that I have much more to say on your IP address being given out, except for that sounds like it's really bad, and it sounds like Marvel's Avengers could have plenty of lawsuits on their hands very soon.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Marvel thing was, god damn it, there's not much time. Well, the thing with the Marvel thing was that it was happening to a lot of streamers, and as we know, people usually there's always something bad that happens with streamers. So with your information out there like that, it's very easy to target it on that streamer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why you don't play that shitty game.
Oh my gosh!
Correct. That's correct.
Marvel's Avengers is not a bad game, and I'm gonna leave that at that. There's another article that I want to talk about really quickly. How many of you guys have played through Wall Market in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I have.
I don't know what that
shit
means.
was great.
Is it not the new thing they released? The first thing.
Yeah.
This is in the base game.
Me. I did that.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna talk to you guys really quick about this, because this might be very slight spoilers for Kelly and Gabe. But there's an article over at Game Informer where they talk to, actually it wasn't at Game Informer, it was over at Square Enix, but it was covered at Game Informer, where they talk about the scene in the Final Fantasy VII Remake with co-director Motomo Toriyama, and they were talking specifically about the dance scene in FF7 Remake. And I personally was super fucking excited because of the language that was used in that scene, because as we all know, or that what Kelly and Gabe will find out, is that is the infamous cross-dressing scene from the original Final Fantasy VII, in which Cloud dresses up in a dress and pretty frilly braids and looks like a beautiful young woman. Sorry for the spoiler, Kelly, you should have finished the game.
To be fair, Final Fantasy VII came out literally like 25 years ago. So
no, I disagree with you, Austin, because I recently played the original like 2 years ago, so this would have been a spoiler.
I'm just saying you can't be like spoilers.
Oh no,
when something 100%. Came out like
yeah, you can.
Yeah, that's all. Well,
no, Jarrell's one of those people that like if he hasn't played the game, it's gonna be a spoiler regardless.
100%. I also have friends who have not played any Final Fantasy, so whenever someone's like, "Oh, is that Eric?"
problem.
I'm like, "Don't you?" Yes, that
is.
I'm
not saying you want to intentionally spoil something for somebody. That's dickish. I'm not into that. But what I am saying is like if you saw like a headline somewhere that says like certain thing about thing you haven't played and it's been out for like a while, like what are you gonna do? Like if a game came out 4 days ago and I'm seeing, or here's a better example, I fucking love Adventure Time, and I don't go on Twitter now when the new like HBO Adventure Times are coming out, because I'm not trying to see screenshots, I'm not trying to see nothing. I take it in control of my control,
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean I agree with you. I just like to disagree. That's all.
That is a really good explanation of Jarrell's MO. Loves to disagree.
I agree with you. I just like to disagree. I just feel like it's okay. Whatever. I don't even want to go to that. So there's an entire scene where Cloud does his cross-dressing, and there's an interview with Toriyama where they talk about it. And he says, this is a quote, throughout the interview, Toriyama talked about why the Honeybee Inn section was such a momentous task for the studio and how the team ended up creating a polished minigame. He said the whole scene took a long time from the initial idea to composing the music, taking the motion capture and adjusting the music and motions to fit together. I was incredibly nervous until it finally all came together, which is, wonderful. But he does specifically talk about the scene with Andrea Rodea. And he says, initially, for example, there was a pole dancing scene included, which meant the filming began on an elaborate set. We decided to take that part out due to the impact on the rating, which is so sad because I would have loved to see Andrea on a fucking pole dancing. That sounds like an amazing time.
Incredible.
But he does mention that it was a very significant moment. He says, given how famous the cross-dressing was in the original Final Fantasy VII, we were aware that people would have had high expectations for the remake. We knew we had to do it in a way that both lived up to those expectations, but took modern sensibilities into consideration. For example, fans these days expect stories and dialogue in games to go beyond stereotypical depictions of gender. Through Andrea's lines and the lyrics of the backing track, Stand Up, we tried to build in a positive and supportive message for Cloud during his cross-dressing scene. That to me is so amazing. I had to bring it up on this podcast because I obviously am LGBT. I don't know if y'all know, but I do like dick. So oh my god,
understandable.
There's a better way to say that.
I loved it. Keep going.
We're just gonna flow with it. So to me, that scene, I was very concerned about how a cross-dressing Cloud would play out in 2020. Yeah, or 2019, whenever the game came out. I think it was 2020.
It's 2020.
Yeah, I was very concerned to see how that scene would be played, and then I saw the preview, and they specifically he says, this is not a full quote, but essentially he says, I'm paraphrasing here, that beauty standards have no gender. And for I always go on about Final Fantasy VII and about how I'm super excited about how diverse the world is, and I always talk about how people say, oh, it's Japanese developers, that's why you don't have any like people of color in your games, and I'm like, look at Final Fantasy VII, just look at Midgar as it is. You have so many different ethnicities within Midgar itself, in the different sections of Midgar, and then to also have such a prominent co-director take time to understand the nuances of how society changes, and to ensure that there is a message in a game as big as Final Fantasy VII that it is okay to just be happy with being beautiful and that beauty standards don't have a gender. I think it's just something that I couldn't have this podcast without bringing up. So Brandon and what just happened?
Oh, if I can shout out. Oh.
No, it was my computer. I'm sorry, my computer.
Okay.
So yeah, Brandon and Austin, since you guys did get to play through that, how did that section make you feel?
You go ahead, man.
I think it was really well. So I haven't finished OG FF7, but I had played a little bit before I played Remake, and I certainly saw that scene. And I know that was a big concern for a lot of people going in for Remake, that they wanted to make sure that scene would remain intact. And there was something they worried about. And I remember even before Remake had come out, the developers that were very clear that no, it'll be there. We want to give it justice. And after watching the scene, oh boy, did they. The fact that they were even thinking about adding a pole dance scene means they were not only planning on giving that scene justice, but going beyond. Because there was no pole dancing in the original. That's 100% would have been something that they would have added to it. But everything that they had with like, I'm trying to like skirt around spoilers, but like with the dress and the dancing and like everything else that was surrounding it, it was just incredible. It's just like, not only was it there, but they leaned into it so well, and not even necessarily played as a joke. Like it was just like a scene of beauty, like it was art. I would call it pure art. Just like everything about it, it was just such a spectacle. Just everything about it, just like they did it so much justice. I was happy to sit down and watch it. Like no shying away from it whatsoever, just fully embracing it. It was beautiful.
I think what you said really quick, I think is so important, because there's so many opportunities to make jokes about that scene, right? Like it is a built-in joke, right? Like depending on how you take it. And I think
it was certainly meant to be a joke in the original, like that's how they were playing it in that game.
And I think, okay. And I think, and like, I take a look at a game like Yakuza Like a Dragon, right? That game, I really enjoy it, but there's so many moments that, they take and they make a joke out of something, and that's the timbre of that game. And I think like Final Fantasy VII Remake had opportunities to do that, and instead they really took a chance to convey a positive message instead of doing that. And I think that's something I can appreciate. Austin, did you want to jump in on that before I move on?
I feel like you guys said everything. My only thing in the original, I understand that like there's potential roots of comedy in like how different or absurd it might have been for 97 or whenever the game came out. But I think if you play through that part of the game, like they aren't cracking jokes, they aren't like making like a lot of like comments and stuff about it. It's just like Cloud's like, oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable, and everyone's like, you're fine, and it just like the mission goes on. Like there really isn't like even that much attention drawn to it until you get into the Honeybee Manor. And so yeah, no, I think you guys are great.
Cloud's
I fucking
pretty.
loved it. Yeah, hard agree.
Gotta get the good dress though.
Can we just like get a petition going to have like pole dancing in Final Fantasy VII, but it's Sephiroth?
Yes.
He is okay. I picture it.
Picture
it. Yes,
Sephiroth
but I'm
could
picturing him
pole
like,
dance on his sword, and it's
no,
long
like,
enough.
I'm picturing like him, but like in the Lil Nas X video, whenever he's like pole dancing down to hell, and I'm imagining Sephiroth with like one wing and like pole dancing down to hell, like I have a vision.
Petition, yes.
I'm sure if we look it up,
vision.
someone's already animated it.
Oh,
I'm
please.
so for this vision.
Just put it in the chat. It's for research only. It's for nothing else.
Yeah, research.
So one of the last topics I want to talk about is Epic Games is making Fortnite's party chat and anti-cheat tools free for everyone. And this is really important because now Fortnite obviously is the game that is crossplay. So this article is from GameSpot.com, written by Alessandro Barbosa, and it says Epic's easy anti-cheat isn't a new tool, but it had previously only been licensed out by Epic to studios willing to pay. As the prevalence of cross-platform play has grown, Epic has seen the need to provide the software for free, given how more and more games are letting players interact with PC, a platform where most cheating software is available. This is the same anti-cheat software used in massive online games like Fortnite, which is a good example of how effective it can be. It isn't perfect. Cheaters still make it through, while some players can be falsely flagged, but it's likely one of the best solutions for studios that can't pioneer their own. Now, I've been talking mad shit about Epic. I won't lie. I've been talking mad shit about Epic because I think this whole Epic versus Apple shit is bullshit. But I think this is really fucking awesome, allowing people or allowing devs to have your anti-cheat tools, especially because with crossplay, obviously we know a keyboard and mouse is almost always going to be better than a controller or a pad. Yes, Kelly, or anything else that anyone uses. So I think this is pretty dope stuff. Anybody want to comment on that really quickly? What that could mean, how you feel about it before I move on to the last topic?
It's cool.
I
don't really have much to say.
Great. It's really good. As a developer, that's a good thing. The more tools you give out to people for free, the more cool stuff gets made. And so I'm Epic is another large corporation, and they do their things, good or evil, somebody else's choice. But when they do stuff like this, I feel like it's really, it's great. It's really cool.
It's really awesome. There is an auctioned Yu-Gi-Oh card. The bidding stopped after reaching $13.4 million. I know I talked shit about what happened with the Pokemon cards and how they're inaccessible now. I just want everybody out there listening to know that somebody just bought a Yu-Gi-Oh card for $13.4 million. And the real problem here is the person who bought it, because why do you have $13.4 million?
Why are you spending $1 million on a blue eyes white dragon?
You have too much money. That's what I wanted to say about that. Last thing is that it was Sonic's 30th anniversary. Brandon, I know that you watched the concert. Did you want to talk about it really quick?
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. That concert was incredible. Like it was like it ended up being 2 hours, but it was such an enjoyable 2 hours. I actually ended up watching it with Marissa via Discord, and we were just gushing over all the different songs. I put a message on general. No one said nothing.
Yeah, so call them out, Brandon.
I'm gonna continue anyway.
Got him.
Yeah, so I was like, it started off with like orchestra sections on like a bunch of different games, from Sonic the Hedgehog original to like current stuff. Then they went into like the rock band, to the Tomoyo Otani band, and then Crush 40, which is incredible. And the last two songs, they combined the Crush 40 rock band with the orchestral music, and they were playing it together. It was incredible. Yeah, no, if you have any interest in Sonic, definitely go watch that VOD. It's on the Sonic the Hedgehog YouTube channel. It is 100% worth it. It's like one of the best game concerts I've ever watched, and it's free. So yeah.
All right, so we have a few more minutes left, and I still have Austin here. Is there anything you guys want to talk to him about before I close the? But anything that you want to talk to him about that he can actually talk about before I end the podcast.
Anyone else want to go first?
I'll go first because I have just one, because again, most of my other questions were already covered. Austin, this is more of an opinion question as someone that is in the industry. We have seen games like Cyberpunk, which suffered from crunch and did not turn out well for it. And then you have examples like The Last of Us Part 2, which did have crunch and but did turn out well in terms of sales. What, as someone that's in the industry, why do you feel like crunch is necessary? And I guess what I mean by that is, I'm sure that's like determined by people that are like high up to determine like what schedules would be necessary to like make sure the game releases its deadline or whatnot. Like, what do you think is the thinking behind that about whether a project needs to crunch or whether it doesn't need to crunch? Because I give another example. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out, it's getting rave reviews, and multiple devs have come out saying they didn't have to crunch. So what's your opinion? Why do you think that some devs find it necessary and some don't?
So my hope is that no dev finds it necessary or wants it or feels like it's something that they can or should fall back on. My hope is that it's only ever employed because, life is life and things don't go according to plan. And when that happens, you've committed to something, committed to a deadline, and therefore like you commit to doing this thing. I personally I think crunch should be avoided literally at all costs. I'm a producer, so like my entire job is literally like, or not my entire job, but a large chunk of it is doing that planning that you were talking about. And it's really important for me to understand like that people take time off, that people get sick, that, like that life happens. And I should be building out any of my schedules or timelines or whatever to accommodate as best as possible for those things. And then there's a level up above that, which is senior leadership at any studio, then has to kind of be like, is this a cultural thing that we want to allow, right? Like I've worked at places that do, that don't, but the places that don't are like, it's fine, we'll just push back our date. Like we'll be okay. And a lot of times those can be larger places because they have the, capital to like lose potentially if they go back another month or two.
Like Blizzard.
Exactly. Yeah, like plenty of places. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think crunch is a really rough thing, and it takes advantage of people's like excitement and ownership of the projects that they work on. And it's a failing of people like myself and people in my role, because we're not just not planning well. We're not understanding our teams as well as we could. We're, we're pushing more for the date than for the people. And I think anybody in a production role, anybody who's in the development industry, like game development industry, should be caring about the people more than the product, right? Like, because when you care about the people, that's when you get good shit, I think.
Okay, very good answer. Thank you.
I
That
agree
answers
with
like
that.
every facet that I was going to question on. Thank
Because
you.
I care about the people at HPCritical, and you should too by checking out hpcriticalgaming.
If you need proof of that, this man did not let me work.
I did not.
Even he didn't even let me do my social media duties.
He was going on
my
vacation because it was his birthday. And then he was like, I still want to work. And I was like, unacceptable. And then
it was
E3 yelled at
weekend.
me. I don't care. 3 of them yelled at me, and I was like, no, you need time off. And I think everyone deserves that time, even if you think you don't, you do. I did mess some things up while he was gone, but that's okay because
he didn't burn the place to the ground though. So
right, like the world kept turning, right? Like,
exactly.
Like we're still here. You know what I mean?
And that's what matters. I think I'm out of time.
Wait, the game had questions.
No, I can't. I just found out I can't ask the questions.
Gabe can't ask any questions.
Damn, did no one else have any questions?
Oh, well, no, I do have one simple question. This is kind of like a personal thing, but working in the industry that you do, this is gonna sound weird, but like how important is a college degree to get into the industry?
That's a really good question. And it's actually really hard to answer because it varies so wildly by place and by hiring manager and by company. I will tell you this: I have a college degree, but my college degree is in European history. It has nothing to do with video games. I went to college because I was told I needed to go to college. I incurred the debt. I did the whole millennial thing. I lived that life. But about like in my early 20s, I was just like, oh, I need to like just go do the thing I want to do. And it took me a little bit to get there. And I've had like ups and downs. I've been laid off 2 different times since being in the industry. I was out of the industry for like 4-ish years in between QA and production. But I just kind of kept at it and kept networking and talking to people. And now I've been doing production for almost 7 years. You know what I mean? So it's helpful for like getting a degree or a certificate of something is helpful for like specialties, artists, programming, audio engineering, like those things where you have to be technically savvy and know the tools and know the things. It's going to be helpful there. But other things like production, operations, I'm forgetting like a bunch of stuff here. Even design. I don't think you need a degree for design. I think you can learn a lot from playing games, from watching stuff on YouTube, from, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot more ways into the industry than just like get a degree at this school that says they'll give you a degree, because like game degrees are still like what, like 10 years old max? Like people haven't been giving them out that long. It's not like you could probably just like hit somebody up on Twitter, ask if they'll mentor you, and then like if they do, have a better route that way than you know, getting a degree. Potentially. No promises, obviously.
Of course. You know, you remind me of I graduated, right? I have a degree in English, and
Congrats.
thanks. And I was like, I am gonna go be a video game writer, and I started to apply for places, and they were like, we're looking for creative writing degrees, and I was like, holy fuck, I did the wrong thing. God damn it. Like I completely fucked that up for 4 years. So the reason I bring this all around is because the good thing about it, and I mean, Austin, you can probably touch on this, but I think the good thing about it is if you do have that degree, you can use those skills sometimes, because like I'm able to use my English degree because whenever I write reviews, it literally goes back to, because all I did was like analyze fucking books like for 4 years. Sorry. Like literally it's always like, why did this author decide to do this? Like why did they write this? Why did they say this? And so those skills are really helpful when reviewing video games, right? So like what was the purpose of them adding this? Like why are the characters the way that they are, etc. And I think even if you don't like, I did nothing with video game journalism with my English degree, right? But I mean, here I am running a video game website. So I think a lot of times it is all about what you do with those skills with your degree. Now, Austin, I mean, I don't know how much of your degree you've actually used. Has there been any like situation in which you've called back on any of those skills? None at all?
No, like maybe like learning from history, you know what I mean? Like that whole adage of like, we got to learn from our past to like not do the same mistakes in the future or whatever. Like I try to take that with me pretty much everywhere, but like, no, like I learned how to write academic papers, 20-page academic papers. Don't use that. I learned a lot about history, which was cool. Love that. Didn't use any of that. I learned about like people skills and stuff, but that's kind of like my soft skill, just like naturally. And I think, yeah, I think that if you're at any stage in your life and you're like, damn, I want to do this thing, but I feel like I'm on the wrong path. Like, I know it's like a cliche, but you can start to shift. You don't have to do like the breakneck, like, okay, I was doing this, now I'm going this way. Like, it doesn't have to be like a snap in the other direction. You can take steps. Like I was working at the Apple store and the retail store when I met a guy who worked at Zynga in Boston, and I was talking to him about games. I was like, oh yeah, I totally want to get in. And he's like, oh, come to the IGDA meetup in Boston. This week, it's monthly. And then I went and we just started talking. I started meeting people. Irrational was hiring and I just applied. And it was like, I just tried, I just kind of put that effort in, and it's not going to work out and it's going to be hard. I have friends who have been trying to get into different parts of the industry for 5 years or 10 years and like have applicable experience. I hate that about the game industry. It is like a life goal to make the game industry more accessible to people, because it's fucking bullshit how hard it is for people to get in. It doesn't matter where. It's fucking unfair and dumb. And so I don't like that. But if I'll put it like this, anybody listening, or anybody here, if you want to talk about how to get in, if you have like dreams or aspirations and you want to talk about feasibility, you want to be connected to people, hit me up. Like, I want to help people. I want to like connect folks. I know a lot of really wonderful people who oftentimes are very open to helping, and at a minimum might be able to point people in certain directions that could be helpful. You have to do a lot of the work on your own, and that's really fucking hard. And I'm sorry for that ahead of time, but if you'll know if it's worth it when you hit your first like major roadblock, I think.
Yeah, I was hoping that I was going to get some story about how your history degree helped you with Q&A and Bioshock Infinite.
But that ended up turning into a different kind of inspirational story, I think.
Which, Austin, you and I have to talk about Bioshock at some point, because I have thoughts.
Yeah,
I love it, but I have thoughts.
I can't wait.
They're not all great. Anyway, it was a great game though. Anyway, with that, thank you so much, Austin, for joining us. It's been
thanks for having me.
Amazing. I can't thank you enough. You're one of the best people. And he was so serious. Like I've been able to just talk to him about everything. So where can people talk to you at? What's your best way to contact you?
I think I mean, I'm really like, probably Twitter is the best place to start the contact point. A Master Tree is my handle. Sorry, there's a siren going by. I don't know if you can hear that. But like, I tend to prefer Discord. It's just like I check Discord more, and it's also where a lot of the communities and stuff are. So yeah, A Master Tree on Twitter. Hit me up. Don't be shy. Also, don't be a dick. But I'm gonna assume the best.
Oh my God, no, our listeners aren't dicks. I hope.
Listen,
but you know what? We've gotten some really shitty emails, so that is.
You never know.
I forgot to read it. I'll read our latest email on the next podcast. It's a banger, very full of wonderful racial slurs. Anyway, and with that, once again, thank you so much, Austin. It's been a wonderful time, and of course, thank you, Kelly, Gabe, and Brandon. And I think, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. I don't think I have any more announcements. No, that's it. Okay, so bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.